Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran. Patch 9.1 recently got yet another build and more catch-up mechanics for alt characters. Quite a lot of players are actually really excited about being able to switch around covenants and play their alts, and the more grinds the Blizzard can eliminate for alts, the better. We got changes for catching up on gear for PvP and PvE, separating the catch-ups altogether. Finally, some really good soulbind changes when it comes to switching covenants for alt characters, as well as Korthia improvements that Blizzard is implementing in order to make it easier for alt characters to catch up through Korthia, get their gear, and actually start playing the game. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the updates we've gotten this week, as well as my suggestions on how to improve them even further. So let's dive into the topic. But before that, most of you guys watching the videos aren't subscribed. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. Hit the bell to get videos regularly for 9.1. Anyway, let's get into the video. First, let's talk about gearing your character. 9.1 is doing a couple different changes, and it looks like Blizzard is experimenting with different updates as to how we're going to be going about gearing our alt characters using our mains. For example, last week they added a new vendor next to the Flight Master, and we're not really sure if that vendor is going to stay there permanently for 9.1, but that vendor last week had a bunch of different Korthian armaments that you could buy with Stygia. You had weapons, you have helmets, you have chests, a way for you to gear out your alts when they hit max level. You could just spend Stygia on your main or alt characters and just fill out specific pieces of gear on your alts. This week, however, this vendor sells something different, and we're not sure if that's just a change or if that's them testing the waters. This week, the vendor sells two boxes. One costs Valor, the other costs Conquest, and both of them can be sent to your alts. I tested this out on an alt character, so from that vendor, it looks like you can send the Renown 40, the booster Renown 240. You could send Anima to your alts, as well as catch-up gear. This catch-up gear for Valor is dungeon gear, like gear that you would get from a Mythic 0 dungeon, starting at item level 210. It is completely random, which is a part that we'll talk about in a second. Then the Conquest gear, we weren't able to test on PTR because the rating is reset for me on PTR, so I can't actually buy the boxes, but I would imagine it would start with some PvP gear. This is a good change. As you're playing your main character, you have all this Valor and Conquest setting. Eventually, your character is going to be geared head to toe, and being able to outfit your alts by spending a little bit of that currency is a good change. This currency is also not super expensive, as the boxes all cost only 500 Valor and 500 Conquest, which for 500 Conquest, if your character rolls a weapon or a helmet, that's huge. That's a pretty big upgrade in general. But that lies the crux of the situation. These boxes right now are RNG random gear. It could be decent trinkets, but it also could be bracers, it could be chest piece, it could be literally any myriad of things. So if, let's say, you're sending this box to an alt character who needs better pants, and you keep looting chest pieces, shoulders, gloves, they end up being kind of useless. But at least the boxes don't cost a lot, so maybe that's the justification for the randomness of it. But from my time playing World of Warcraft, we had Titan Forging, we had War Forging. I don't think a lot of players are gonna like randomness. I think what would feel more satisfying is to get specific pieces, even if it costs maybe a little bit more Valor or a little bit more Conquest. And all I think the Blizzard should do is add just a dialogue box before you open this box. Like, for example, when you interact with the box, what if, just like talking to a guard for directions, it asks you which piece of gear do you want, and you could select a trinket, a shoulder, a helm, so at least you can get a specific slot, if not a specific item. This way you'll be able to at least easily fill out different pieces of your alt character, because maybe you've taken that alt to Mythic Plus, got lucky with a weapon, and you've done a raid and you got lucky with some shoulders, but your pants are still greens from when you were level 58. Getting soulbinds for alts has always been kind of difficult. When you get a fresh new character, you first need to do the full story of your covenant, whether you're Necrolord, Venthyrian, or Night Fae, and when you finish that storyline that you've done probably like, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 times already, to then finally unlock the soulbind that you already have had on your alt characters, and finally you can start PvPing or doing Mythic Pluses or raiding, because some of the second and third soulbinds of covenants are really good. And that's exactly what we have in this update. You could just kind of equip them immediately, whether you have Renown 1, whether you have Renown 40, whether you max Renown. If it's a new character, you could just off the bat start using them. To enable this, I'll be using my Warlock as an example. My Warlock is maxed out with Necrolords. He did the full story, he got all the soulbinds. So what I will do is on patch day, we'll log on my Warlock who's maxed out in the Necrolord Covenant, talk to my third soulbind as an actual model, actual NPC that is the soulbind somewhere in your covenant. And after a quick speaking quest, that's it. All my alts can just walk up to the Forge of Bonds at any covenant, talk to Emeni for Necrolords, talk to Earmere for Necrolords, and that's it. They just have them unlocked from the start. No more grinding the story, which is a good thing, but you are going to need to get Renown. In patch 9.1.5, they are adding an item that allows you to boost your renown up to 40. This item is definitely going to be helpful for alts trying to catch up to your main. Starting at 40 in renown means all your soulbinds, or at least the basic perks, are unlocked, and getting renown from 40 to 80 is a lot better than from 1 to 80. And renown isn't really difficult to get. You can do callings, you can do Torghast, you can do dungeons, you can PvP, you can raid, you can just get Anima and Korthia. But unless Blizzard literally throws renown at you for killing every rare in Korthia and doing any world quest out there, it's still going to be grind. It's a very small grind, but it's still a grind. Look, whenever 9.1.5 comes out, I'm going to be playing my rogue, and my rogue has stayed vent tier for majority of the expansion. But this is going to be a perfect opportunity for me to try the other covenants, see how Necrolord plays, try the Kyrian Legendary. I'm going to be doing a lot of renown grinding on my main character, and I'll probably end up needing to do small grinds on multiple alts that I want to play. Now that you finally have the freedom to swap covenants, you're still going to have to get renown for all of them, especially if you want to try some of the legendaries. What if renown was account wide? What if your character, once let's say my rogue reached level 80 or renown 80 was vent tier, and if I want to get a brand new alt into vent tier covenant, all my alts that are vent tier also have 80 renown. This means that on my rogue I can grind out renown, and then my alts can benefit from my rogue's progress, which would make it so much easier. I still would enjoy the grind to get the vent tier, Necrolord, Fae, Kyrian unlocked separately on my rogue for the variety of different cosmetics, but my alts would be able to benefit from the gameplay aspects of it all. You're also going to be getting some benefits from Korthia. If your main character is maxed out with the Korthia research and is able to buy conduits and sockets, you're also going to get some benefits. Blizzard mentioned in a blue post that they feel like the research on Korthia and catching up on your alts is a little slow, so they're really going to turn up the knobs. What that means for your alts, if you're let's say trying to swap from one class to another, you are going to be able to get reputation quicker if you are trying to max out that character before the next tier. You're also going to see for any alts hanging on Korthia, every time you slay rares or collect treasures, all those activities are going to have a chance to net you more research, which means more of that currency that you can spend on upgrading your gear or buying conduits and sockets. Every single daily that nets you research is also going to be giga buffed, so you'll be able to get a lot of it very quickly. Personally, I want Korthia to become a place in 9.1.5 where we're able to just dive in and do a bunch of rares and treasures and see notable big gear upgrades. We are going to be in the 0.5 patch with everybody slaying Sylvanas left and right, so it's a perfect opportunity to catch up alts. And if they can make that grind to 233 item level gear easier, I think it's a good thing. They've already done so many other things in order to make playing alts in the next patch easier, and being able to catch up with item level, even if it's not best of slot gear for you, at least having that item level will mean better survivability and more playability if you want to dive into some Mythic Plus dungeons or get into raiding or primarily get into PvP. Speaking about PvP, we got a few PvP adjustments. In Season 2 of Shadowlands, Blizzard changed it where PvP gear scales upwards in item level inside of PvP situations, like arenas, battlegrounds, and world PvP. So if you took a trinket over on PTR and if you were to maximize its rank, the highest item level that you can reach on PTR is actually 239 item level, which is better than what it is right now in patch 9.1. Quite a few players that play the game casually, just battlegrounds and skirmishes, never really getting sweaty in RBGs and arenas, wanted for honor gear to be a little bit more competitive, because when you dive into battlegrounds surrounded by gladiators in maximum PvP gear, it feels like you just get stomped. So if someone wanted to grind out a bunch of honor for honor gear and rank it up to the highest rank, it at least starts at a higher item level than it did before. It's actually the same item level as Combatant 1 arena gear, which you get at 1000 rating. So in patch 9.1, maximum rank honor gear head to toe versus a player in full gladiator gear, you're looking at about 30 item level difference. That gap has been reduced by 10 item levels in 9.1.5, which isn't exactly optimal because there's still a 20 item level gap, but a 20 item level gap is better than a 30 item level gap. I really think the sweet spot might be like a 15, maybe as close to a 10 as they can get. It does seem that Blizzard wants to be a divide between the best PvP gear and the worst PvP gear, so the players that grind it out in arenas can really just go into battlegrounds and feel like gods, but it's not really fun for the little guy to just get beat up all the time. You can either be skilled at the game, dive into arenas, get the rating, and you have all the gear you need, or if you're someone who puts in the time, puts in the grind, you might not be as apt inside of arenas, but you're willing to work for that gear. I feel like being able to commit time into gear in a character should also be rewarding. But this change does make honor gear at least somewhat competitive, at least a step in the right direction. They also reduce the amount of honor it takes in order to grind out that gear. That is something I really think they need to turn way up. That number shouldn't be by 25, that should be reduced by 75. I feel like getting the honor set should be a priority for players, and being able to upgrade it should be pretty easy. Since there's so many different ranks in gear, being able to get through those ranks should be pretty quick. Especially if they're trying to make this all friendly. If somebody wants to play multiple characters and they don't really want to step into arenas to gear, they'd rather just do BGs and epic battlegrounds, being able to gear out the character with a fairly short grind is going to be easier in order to be able to hop on another character and do that grind all over, and then another character and do that grind all over. Reducing the grind to get a bunch of alts that you can play anytime you want to, I think should be a priority going forward. Another pretty big gear upgrade, particularly having to do with the legendaries, Rune Carver can now melt your legendary back down to its purest forms of Soul Ash and Soul Cinders. This way you can either craft a new legendary in case, let's say, Blizzard ends up buffing certain Legos and now your best in slot is no longer best in slot and now you have to grind another Lego. Instead of having to dive back into Torghast, you can just repurpose the currency from Torghast in order to be able to craft a new one. You will, however, need to buy from the auction house the legendary item, as well as the missives, the scrolls that provide different stat upgrades to that legendary, and you'll also probably need to buy the gem in order to put that back in if you're using a ring or a necklace or any one of the legendaries that has a socket in it. But this means that you no longer have to dive back into Torghast to recraft your bis. This is also very useful if, let's say, your secondary stats changed. For example, I have a ring on my Outlaw Rogue that's probably a best in slot single target ring, but it has haste versa, where I actually would want that ring to be haste crit. If this system was in right now, I'd be able to pop that legendary in, scrap it, recraft it, and put the right secondary stats in. This is overall a good change. This allows players to do a couple of things. One, recraft your legendaries in case your best change, recraft your Legos in case secondary stats change, but also if you want to just try a legendary for like a wacky build, you can craft it at rank 1 and then just try it out in a battleground or in dungeons, and if it doesn't work out, just scrap it and at least you can get the currency it took in order to make that legendary. So it's no harm, no foul. Whatever Soul Ash and Soul Cinders you earn, you keep them permanently and you can repurpose them for legendaries as long as you have the gold in order to buy the Legos, but the prices have been dropping, so at least that's a good thing. Anyway, that's going to be all the catch-up benefits we have so far for alts and I guess some main character stuff that we have currently in patch 9.1 PTR with this update. A lot of cool updates have been added this week, and I'm hoping that more updates will be considered going forward. There's still a few small quality of life updates that would just make this patch really great for alts. And that's the thing, should be the consideration, like some of the grinds and even smaller grinds, you've done them on your main character, should you have to do them on your alts? PvP gear, how competitive should honor gear be, and should Blizzard reward players for grinding out or investing the time commitment in order to get the honor gear, which I really think they should. I think some of the alt-friendly changes have been implemented and are still going through iterations, but they are good on paper. They just need a couple of more updates in order to get better, and hopefully we'll see better upgrades and updates going forward. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. You guys let me know your thoughts, what you think about all these updates. Also, hit me up on Discord, link down below. That's probably the best place to reach me if you guys just want to hit me up. But thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed this update, and I'll see all of you in the next one.